Welcome back to the program. I'm Wamboy Muturi, and on this second episode we'll look at global stories and evocative issues affecting the public attitudes in business. But first, let's take a look at the major stories from around the world. At least 257 people were reported dead after a military plane crashed near Bofak Air Base between Algiers and the city of Bildad. The crash is the worst in Algeria since 2013, when the Air Algeria jet crashed shortly after taking off, killing 102 people. A driver intentionally plowed his white Raider rental van into a lunch hour crowd in Toronto, Canada, killing 10 people and injuring 15 along a 1.6 stretch of sidewalk with pedestrians. The subject has been detained by the Toronto police without any shots being fired, with the motive still unknown. Sweden's society is winning the race towards becoming the world's first completely cashless society. But there are growing concerns. It's causing problems for the elderly and other vulnerable groups. None of the high street banks around Stockholm, Spotless Odenplan Square handle cash anymore. In this episode, we are going to look into the idea of cashless society with regard to the Kenyan environment. Now, looking back when M-Pesa was introduced, people became users. Now, public transport, the BMT card, a form of cashless payment, was introduced, but people didn't find time to accept the fact that they can use cards. I believe most Kenyans use hard cash, M-Pesa, or smart cards to buy goods and services. Now the question to look at is Kenya going to go completely cashless? Now, looking at the social media handle about Swedish cashless society, Ms. Mary Wanyaga says, I understand how brilliant cashless seems to be, but what will happen to the tourists? Maureen Mombi says, I didn't know Sweden was on its way to becoming cashless. I don't know much about the Swedish society. I just think going cashless is exclusionary against the poor and homeless people. Correspondent feature with Derek Rees Monene. Let us see what he has for us. Monene, can you hear me?
Now, thank you, Amboy. I am stationed here at Daystar University, and on our episode 2 for today, we are going to be talking about business. Now, Sweden, as we saw in our earlier story, is becoming completely cashless. It is actually completely cashless, except for the fact that only the elderly people are the ones who are struggling to still use cash, but it is completely cashless. Now, phrasing this context to the Kenyan content, is Kenya ready to go completely cashless? I mean, we're already there, we're already using M-Pesa, we are already using our smart cards. We tried BabaPay as Kenyans, but that did not work out. However, we as Kenyans get to use these cashless transactions on a daily basis. Whether it's buying our goods, whether it's paying for the services that we use. Whether you're going for a gas station to get fuel, you get to use M-Pesa, you get to use your smart card. Whether you're going shopping, you get to use your shopping card, you get to use money, you get to use M-Pesa. Whether you're going for a dinner, there's always an M-Pesa till number there. So I think as Kenya, we are cashless, but we're not fully cashless. So that then raises the question, are we as Kenyans ready to go completely cashless? Now, on this correspondent feature, we shall be talking to two business-oriented individuals who are going to give us their say on whether Kenya is going to go completely cashless, how they feel about going completely cashless, and what methods do they prefer when it comes to getting their income into their pockets.
My name is Sheila Wanyagambere. I am a marketer and I do marketing and advertising. Baking has been a passion for me from when I was small. Until now, I took it up kind of professionally. And now I make regularly per week, I make mostly 120 to 150 cupcake orders. And when it comes to payments, I normally think that it's best for me to actually do cashless payment, but I normally take cash or M-Pesa. Going cashless will actually save me a lot of stress and hassle, because sometimes when a client gives me, for instance, a certain amount of money and I need to give them back change and I don't have that change, it's normally so stressful. So being in a cashless society, that will reduce significantly, because honestly, I think that that stress of uko namba, uko na 20, uko na 10 nikurudishie 50, you know, that kind of hustle I really don't like. If Kenya could go cashless actually right now, it would be easier.
Hi, my name is Lynette from Murugi's Kitchen. On the topic of cashless society, choosing a side can be a bit tricky. This is because my business serves both working class students, who are the master's students, and the undergraduate students. When it comes to master's students, they tend to prefer paying using M-Pesa, mostly, and undergraduates mostly opt for hard cash. So going cashless might affect my business a bit negatively. Also, when it comes to suppliers, they prefer hard cash, and also when it comes to paying my employees. Also, as Kenya, we will end up spending so much time and money educating citizens as to why, as a country, we want to go cashless. So for me, going cashless basically has more cons than pros.
Now, as you have seen, Lynette at Murugi's Kitchen says that she has no problem whatsoever in becoming cashless. She cannot fail to accept physical cash because not all people are becoming cashless in our Kenyan society. And as Sheila, who is a baker, says that she prefers cashless payments because she gets to feel that cashless payments, getting money through her M-Pesa is the exact way and the most efficient way for her to manage her funds, because it's easy for her to take her funds into the bank without having to go physically to a bank, make a queue, and go through that whole hard process. So for her, it's very much easy to get payment from M-Pesa, which is so convenient for her because she gets to take it directly to her bank. Well, I think as Kenyans, we are actually ready to go completely cashless. Why is that? Because I think that given the term that we are Kenyans, we get to operate under certain limitations that we deem are beneficial to us. Now, going completely cashless, whether it's situations given like the bank actually gives you certain rules and policies that you have to follow. You cannot just go spending your money just anyhow. You have to operate within the means of the bank. And I think this discipline is actually what is necessary for us as Kenyans, in the fact that we get to actually spend our money, not because it's ours, but given the certain policies, we get to have that discipline in spending our money. And also for the local Wanjiku, I think it avoids instances such as when you're given, or when the conductor in a matatu goes with your change, we get to avoid those certain types of scenarios. Like going cashless, just tapping your card one touch, you pay the certain amount of money without having to go and undergo all these troubles of conductor nipatie fare yangu, conductor nipatie change yangu. And it gives us that discipline of operating as Kenyans, because we get to have the chance that like Kenya, we are just ready to go completely cashless.
Now, at Monen, it seems you like the idea of cashless society. Now, looking at the comments, at Modhoni says, I agree with Shishi that when we decide to become completely cashless, at some point it helps one know how to utilize his or our own money in business and other extra amenities. Now, at Velton says most business people use cash and smart cards to buy goods and services. But one thing to note, Kenya is already heading to become a cashless society. And I hope we completely change, because this way it will curb black market business. Cashless society is about using net banking facilities to make payments rather than using hard cash. Now, being joined by John Waihenya, a tax consultant expert at Grant Thornton Company, and Hosea Wangio, a business finance associate who helps with in-house accounting for companies, and Ivy Sigai, who is a financial advisor at Saiton Investment. Thank you for joining me on this segment on business. Now, starting with Hosea, Kenya is on the verge of becoming cashless because we are already using smart cards and M-Pesa to make payments on different amenities. Now, Sweden, as we had seen earlier, has growing concerns that it's actually causing problems for the elderly and other vulnerable groups towards the society. Now, do you think here in Kenya the elderly will, either the rural areas or the urban, will adapt to this kind of advancement?
Thank you, Amboy, for having me. A cashless society, this is an emerging issue with so much innovation in the market. Definitely, Kenya is heading there. The question on whether the elderly in our society, especially people in the rural areas, whether they'll be able to adopt or use this technology. I think it's possible because already we can see, like with M-Pesa, the elderly in the village are still able to receive cash and actually withdraw for themselves. So I think in one aspect we have succeeded, and actually M-Pesa has grown to be what it is because of transfers from urban cities to the rural areas.
Now, thank you, Jose, for your opinion. Now, Ivy, do you think the elderly will be influenced by their grandchildren when it comes to cashless society?
Peer influence and their kids and grandchildren going cashless, that's influence and they want to go cashless too. For example, my grandma will experience this. I want to send her money and I don't get to go up country all the time. So the best thing is usually I send her money through her mobile banking app on her phone. We had to have a phone like a kabambe, but she later on right now she says, I also want a smartphone like you guys, which is a good thing. So we bought her a smartphone and she experienced like challenges learning the new features. But with time now, she can go to access her bank account using the mobile banking apps. So which is really great because of that peer influence.
Now, thank you, Ivy, for your comment. Now, how promising is cashless society when it comes to transactions on fraud and also helping to curb black market? Now, John, tell me about this.
Thank you, Oboy, for having me on this interesting topic on which is quite emerging because, you know, cashless society has been with us for like 10 years. Cashless society in Kenya is quite promising. We've experienced M-Pesa, Airtel Money, M-Kopa, and various other forms of cashless money. We have had a challenge, especially with the bank sector, because of the banking fraud and the irregularities associated with the same. We have seen several Chinese coming to Kenya and forming cohorts and stealing from our scoffers. We've seen KRA having various problems because of the digital platforms they have put in place to correct taxes. And we have seen several losses. We have seen money getting lost between Treasury and Times Tower. Basically, I think CID headquarters should invest more in anti-banking fraud. They should probably come up with a department to counter fraud in cashless form of payment. Because as it is now, we need to create more confidence because we have a problem, especially when it comes to fraud, because basically most of us fear to lose our hard-earned money. But if we have to move to cashless society, I believe we should do more in securing the platform.
Now, thank you, John. Okay, Ivy, John says banks have had problems being hacked. What do you think can be done to help curb these kind of problems?
So with the introduction of the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Bill that was recently released by the President of Kenya, I think the cashless society is promising. For now, we have to enhance and implement the law, and that's what the challenge we can be talking about. But going cashless, it's already done, and I think it's the best way moving forward. And we can just implement anybody who goes against and does fraud and all these cyber crimes have to be given penalties, high penalties and charges, and we have to have measures of tracking them. That's why we have students now doing cybercrime security as a course in the university to enhance these laws, even ethics, computer ethics, and these are things that all students doing ICT learn to ensure that cashless society is improved on.
And to conclude, what are your remarks? Do you think we are almost going cashless despite looking at small business vendors? Will they be able to adapt to this change come future? And will it be the best for Kenya? Starting with you, Jose.
In conclusion, I think it's a good idea to move cashless. It's safer and we're able to do more transactions in a shorter period of time. Like now that we have PesaLink where we get to move money from 2 different accounts. Previously with the checking system, it was taking so much time, but now it's more efficient and it's faster. So I think it's the way to go.
Okay, and John, what's your last comment?
Actually, if we become a cashless society, we get rid of robbers because most thefts and robberies are associated with cash. But we have seen in the past few years, we have not had any cases of bank robbery, except the KCB issue, and all the money was actually recovered. So if we go cashless society, number one, we get rid of insecurity. Number two, we get rid of black market. We get rid of money laundering. So we become a better society. Our exchequer collects more money. You see, like now with the 10% excise that the government is charging on all bank and M-Pesa transaction, we invest more in our infrastructure, in our roads, in our railways, in our power, in our mining, and so on and so forth. Basically, you know, if we think without the box, and probably even the maize vendor in the street, we can come probably with cashless machines, and maybe they can be vending from there. The mama bogas in our in the kiosks, they can vend from those machines. We have seen the M-banking agents replacing most of what banks used to do. We can introduce such machines to the mama bogas, to the maize vendors, to the matatus, and probably remove cartels in the transport industry. And with time, we will become a cashless society, a crime-free society, and the exchequer, we are going to give more money to them.
And lastly, I come to Ivy. What's your say?
Lastly, going cashless is really beneficial. From my own experience, I'd go to a mall and shop just using my ATM card with 0 transaction costs. And where also nowadays banks are trying to initiate that movement to swipe and use your Visa and debit cards, so that you can get points which you can redeem for good prices, which is a good thing because that's promoting cashless society. And it's really convenient when you can buy online goods globally using cashless society. You just transact online in a safe method using PayPal or just directly, because you have really strong passwords and the CSV codes. And for the country, if we're doing really small transactions, the transaction costs are so little to limit us from going cashless. If I want to buy, say, a mahindi choma just at the corner there, I can pay without using cash if I know the person's pay bill number. And these transaction costs are so little to limit us going cashless as a society. So it's really beneficial for everyone to go cashless, because it reduces mainly the risk of losing money when you're carrying money in your pocket. And also you reduce the petty cash, like 1 shilling, if I'm given 1 shilling as change right now, the value is so low in that I feel, where will I put this 1 shilling? I can have 51 equivalent shilling in the house, and that is money, it would have been in my account as 0.25 cents, which is really valuable in this society today. So it also reduces those small little changes that would have been really profitable at the end of the day when I look at my financial statement, knowing that I still have enough money left and where did I send money. So always look at your financial statement as a measure to improve the awareness of where you sent the money, so that you can know, like, who did I pay? Is anyone trying to steal some money from my account? You can tell, like, oh, this 200 shillings was deducted by the bank. For what reason? Was it a transaction cost? What was it? That's when now you can tell, oh, someone is stealing money from me, and I have to go find out where the loophole is. And yes, best thing, let's go cashless.
Okay, now thank you, Ivy, John, and Jose, for your time. And as we check our comments on social media, Jerry says, I love the idea of being cashless, for it will help end black market and enhance discipline in money spending. By promoting computerized softwares and policies for spending money and showing advantages of going cashless. Thank you for watching, and kindly do subscribe, comment, continue the conversation online through selected social media at BMT channel on YouTube and at Twitter at Wamboi Amboi. Till next time, God bless.